Talking with Springfield Township. Today we have Chief Leininger in the studio because we're going to talk about all kinds of things having to do with the history of the fire department at Springfield Township, as well as your own history.
Yes.
But we want to start by congratulating you on a very exciting moment in your career. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you so much.
I can say that it's not a secret because
No, not
it was
anymore,
officially announced at the trustee meeting on Tuesday,
Yes.
so everyone knows now.
Yes.
It's Facebook official. It's on the Facebook page. So I wanted to take some time to talk about, because you're not just one part of the history of the station. You started the entire department really at Springfield Township. Your history is the history of the fire department.
Yes, it is. It is.
So before we go there, can you tell me a little bit about how you came to firefighting?
Well, a little bit about the history. People ask me, why did you get into the fire service? And, you know, it goes back to really, my father was a volunteer firefighter.
Okay.
And I remember when I was probably 4 or 5, we'd go to the firehouse, and I'd get to crawl up into the fire truck and sit behind the wheel, and that steering wheel seemed like it was this big, and you sit there and you go like this, and you ding the bell, and you hit the siren and everything, and the firehouse had a certain smell to it. They had been fighting fire, so the hose has a certain smell and different things like that. And I was just fascinated with it. Trucks were big and everything else, and there was just a certain magic to it. So, and then I would, as I grew up, and my dad continued to be a volunteer, and he spent about 8 years as a volunteer. And so there were a lot of times I sat in the car, and while he was off doing his thing, his volunteer firefighting and sit with Mom and my 2 sisters, and we'd be stuck in the car while he was off kind of fighting a fire. So I grew up around it. But then through high school, at the time it was the police shows were popular. Quincy and a lot of those things, and the forensic stuff, they were out catching bad guys, and we're doing it all by science. So that intrigued me, and so I went to Eastern Kentucky University, and my interest was really to go into police work, police science, and maybe go into the forensics part of it and be an investigator. And then I took some electives in the fire science program, and Eastern Kentucky has one of the best fire science programs in the country. And having access to that resource, I took full advantage of it. So what ended up being a few electives ended up turning into another major. So I was able to take fire investigation and learn the forensics and the science behind fire, and I couldn't get enough of it. It was just exactly what I was looking for. And then when I graduated, I pursued a police career, went to several police departments and applied, but at the time I just couldn't find a police department that was hiring. So I was fortunate enough to have the fire science degree, and I became a loss control engineer with an insurance company and learned risk management. And did a lot of fire inspections and building appraisals, those kind of things. And then shortly thereafter, I had an opportunity to get on the Northern Hills Volunteer Fire Department. And ironically, I was recruited to play softball, not to be a firefighter, but actually to play softball. A dear friend of mine, Jeff Steele, actually called me one day. He says, "Hey, we need a softball player. Can you play on Sunday?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, no problem," kind of thing. So I played and actually had a good game, I guess, that day. And I said, "Hey, what would it take to really get on this fire department kind of thing?" Because I'd love to be a volunteer firefighter. And he says, "Well, why don't you show up, talk to Nat Bond, who was the fire chief at the time with Northern Hills." And he says, "Maybe we can get you on," kind of thing. So I had an interview with Nat Bond. And Nat says, "Hey, I understand you're a pretty good ball player." I'm like, "Well, I happen to have a good game, yeah, Nat." And he goes, "All right, well, you're on. Go see that guy over there to get your equipment." And that was it. It was kind of like no big formal interview or anything like that. It was just like, "Hey, you're a pretty good ball player. Go get your equipment." So that's how I got my foot in the door. Was I tell people, how did you get into the fire service? Well, because I played softball and they happened to need a left fielder.
So when you say this career came out of left field,
Exactly.
not that you would ever say that.
No,
but-
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Good.
Just had to go there.
It did. Absolutely. Yeah.
That who would have guessed though that I mean because you did take the classes and you did study
Yes.
it and you did
Yes.
have an interest. It's not like those seeds weren't already there.
No. I was just looking for a way to kind of get in, but once that door opened, I took full advantage of it, and it became my passion. You're right. Then I invested in my career with all the training that comes with it. You have to become an EMT. You have to become a certified firefighter, and then fortunately, the leadership of Northern Hills gave me opportunities and invested in me to become an officer, and I became a lieutenant, and then a captain, and then an assistant chief, and in 1989, I became the fire chief of Northern Hills.
So does this background in a volunteer fire department affect how you feel about volunteer fire departments? Because we see a difference between volunteer fire departments and staff fire departments. And I know some towns struggle with how to use both kinds or which kind should they use. You kind of have a background in both directions there.
Well, I do, and I found that to be extremely beneficial. There are advantages and disadvantages to both, actually. I have a strong support for volunteer fire departments because if you look at it, that is the grassroots effort. That is your most valuable asset in life is your time. And when you're giving your time to help your community and also taking risk by doing so, a lot of times you're in your personal vehicle, you're running lights and siren to the firehouse, and then obviously the risk of injury in doing this dangerous type of profession. But the caring, the compassion, the level of service, the drive to be a professional is the same, really, as a volunteer or career. Volunteers, they have to come from their home. They have to get their equipment and then respond to the emergency. So there's a considerable delay in that. And so that's the biggest disadvantage is that volunteers have to respond from their homes. The advantage of a career department is that the firefighters and EMS professionals, they're on station. So they're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When that call comes in, within a minute, they're out the door. So the biggest advantage is that quick response. And let's face it, when on medical emergencies, if you're having chest pain, you're having difficulty breathing, or there's some type of traumatic event, time is critical.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how did you make that change from volunteer fire departments to making it a career for you?
Well, I was in the private sector for about 15 years. At the same time, I was a volunteer firefighter. And it was my passion. So it was a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week type thing. I pretty much lived at the firehouse. I was young and single at the time, and then when I met my wife, she was very gracious to allow me to follow my passion and continue to be a volunteer firefighter, and she became involved in it as well and very supportive. So at that point, I didn't really think about it as a career because I just felt like at the time, being a volunteer fire chief, I didn't really have that much to offer or compete with career fire chiefs. And they had years of experience and education and so on. So when they talked to me about forming the Springfield Township Fire Department, initially I didn't think really about applying. I just felt that maybe I wasn't the best candidate for the job at the time. And I was a little intimidated by the competition, to be honest with you. Here's this volunteer fire chief that's going to apply to be a full-time fire chief of a career department. Yeah, I was a little intimidated by that. But then shortly thereafter, and from some encouragement from friends and professional colleagues, they said, you need to put your name in there. You know, you've done great things with Northern Hills. And quite honestly, I wanted to see the work that we accomplished with Northern Hills to continue and to take it to the next level. I mean, that's a leader's dream, is to get your organization to a high-performing level, and then to get an opportunity to even take it further. That's a dream, a leader's dream, to have that opportunity. So I put my name in. I competed against some very highly professional people. The trustees selected me in June of 1996. And I've been very grateful. It literally changed my life. And it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I've had such a strong passion for the fire service. And the fact that they gave me an opportunity to take it to the next level, I'm just so grateful. I'm very humbled by it as well, because they obviously saw something in me that maybe I didn't see at the time, but they took a chance. Here's this local kid from Finneytown that was a volunteer firefighter, and now they're going to turn over this career department to me. The only thing I really had going for me at the time was that I did have a track record. I mean, they knew the type of chief that I had been with Northern Hills, some of the things that we had accomplished. We consolidated 3 volunteer fire departments to form the Springfield Township Fire Department, and we were successful in doing that. So I had something that maybe the other candidates didn't have on their resume, and that is the fact that they knew me. They knew the type of service that we provided as volunteers, and so they took a chance. And because they did, I felt very, very committed to making sure that I could live up to those expectations. And I've been very, very grateful for their support for the last 26 years.
So it's 1996, and Springfield Township is just building this brand new career fire department. What did you have to work with? What did that look like to start putting, because you got to be the one deciding what's that going to look like?
Well, it was exciting, a little intimidating,
Yeah.
Initially, but very, very exciting. But you know what, when they say good leaders surround themselves with great people, that was the key. And I went after great people to surround myself with. I was fortunate to have great people with Northern Hills Volunteer Fire Department. I had great people with the New Burlington Fire Department. And when we took over the Edgemont Fire Department several years before, there were even some great people with them as well that I took full advantage and of an opportunity to invite them or encourage them to come and work for the Springfield Township Fire Department. And I would say probably 80% of the volunteers that we had with those other organizations applied to be either in career positions or part-time positions. And even today, I have probably 10 part-time people that have been with me since day one.
Oh, wow.
Started as a volunteer firefighter. I hired them in September of 1996, and they're still working for me part-time with the fire department today.
That says really good things about a department and about the leadership, that they want to stay part of that.
I'll take that as a compliment. Sure. That in today's world, it's a challenge to attract good quality employees or people. And retention is a big part of it as well. But when you have people that stay with you that long and have started as volunteers and then come in, it just shows their commitment and their passion for providing public safety. And I've been blessed to have been surrounded by some of the best firefighters and paramedics in the county, if not in the state. And I've just been, and so that makes me look good. I get the accolades and the compliments for having a great department. I can't take credit for that. What I do take credit for is that I hired those great people.
So I think you can take some credit for it.
Some credit, sure. There's that, I saw the quality and the professionalism and things in those people and hired them and gave them an opportunity to fulfill their dreams and provide the service that's needed in Springfield Township. And they all have some unique skill set. We were talking about the volunteers. One of the things that the volunteers offered years ago was just about everybody had some type of skill. So you would rely on those skills to, if you needed the firehouse painted or you needed a plumber, you needed an electrician, there was always somebody that had a skill set. And so, I recognized a lot of those skills that even today, a lot of the firefighters, they all come in with certifications, either as EMTs, paramedics, firefighters. But a lot of times it's that the little intangibles that they bring to the table. Maybe they're a plumber, they're an electrician. They can do all different types of carpentry and things like that. So in the fire service, we are professional problem solvers. So we have to be prepared to handle any type of an emergency or any type of challenge that's thrown our way. And so it's those little intangibles, those little skill sets that we take advantage of very often, maybe more so than our certifications. But, and that's what I've tried to do over the years is really just hire in the best people. And when I say best people, not only is that a quality skill set, but also people trust us. The fire service is about trust. They trust that we're going to come in and we're going to help them. They allow us into their home. They allow us access to a lot of their personal information. And they trust that we're going to be good stewards of their money, that they trust us to be in their home. They trust us with some of their private information. And so we don't want to breach that trust. So a big part of what I do when I interview firefighters is that I'm looking for character. I'm looking for integrity. I'm looking for honesty. I'm looking for passion and a commitment to public service. And, that's quality. And then if they have the skill set to come with it, that's fantastic.
I love that that everyone comes in with their own unique, different
They do.
Capabilities that might not be the things you put on the hiring list, and they're still going to be things that you will be able to use in your department.
There's no doubt. It's all about the synergy. Everybody brings their own skills, their personalities.
Yeah.
And now that we're a career department, that synergy and that diversity and all that in the firehouse, it has that chemistry has to be constructive and positive. We want our employees to feel valued and give them an opportunity to contribute to the organization. Although we are a paramilitary structure, we're rigid to a point when it comes to the fire ground. We have an incident command system that we follow. But in the firehouse, we're family. And a big part of that is that people say, I enjoy working here. Well, why? Well, it's because of the synergy. It's because of the chemistry. It's because of the personalities and the fact that they feel valued and they have opportunities to grow and learn the profession.
As you look back over your time in Springfield Township, are there particular projects or moments where you were really proud that you got to be part of that?
Wow. I've been proud to a particular project that, that stands out. Obviously, the firehouse on Winton Road, 9150, which is our administrative building, and also our firehouse. I was involved in maybe as a consultant or an advisor in the design of that building. And one of the things that we tried to do with that building was to look at the future and what are the fire service needs, both EMS and fire, going to be in Springfield Township within the next 50 years. So at that point, I had a pretty good understanding or had a pretty good vision of what it's going to look like 25 years from now. And the truth be told is that the sustainability of fire departments is is challenging. The cost of equipment keeps going up, cost of personnel keeps going up, and some of the smaller departments are going to struggle in the future. And some of them are volunteer. And are they going to be able to continue to get volunteers? And so, and they have great leaders, but it's just availability of personnel and the cost of operations are basically going to put some of the smaller departments out of business. So when that happens, there's going to have to be some consolidation of resources. So some of the bigger departments are going to have to absorb some of those other departments. And as that happens, the region may end up with less fire departments. And so the fact that we are centrally located in Hamilton County, we want to be a major player in the redesign or distribution of fire service in the future. And we feel that really our geographic location makes it ideal for us to have a major say in the future safety services. I mean, that could be everything from police, fire, EMS. As our region gets to be a little bit more efficient and effective with their fire and EMS and police services, the fact that we're centrally located, we want to be a major player in that.
You kind of already got to test that central location because that's why you are the house for the location, home base for the UC Mobile Health.
Yes.
Mobile Stroke Clinic truck.
Yes. A couple years ago, I had the opportunity to encourage, I should say, the mobile stroke unit to come to Springfield Township. And one of the biggest things that we had to offer, again, was our geographic location, being centrally located in the county. They have quick access, can reach almost 80% of the county within 15 minutes from our firehouse. But also just the mobile stroke unit was very personal to me. My father had a massive stroke. My brother-in-law has had a stroke, and I've seen the devastation that strokes can cause. Obviously, they can take your life, but unfortunately, a lot of times with a stroke, there is some very negative, lasting effects and impacts on the family. So when we had the opportunity, and I offered them that opportunity to come to Springfield Township, we had a meeting of possibilities. We looked at what needed to be done to facilitate that, and we were able to put it together, and it went live in August of 2020, and has been serving the Hamilton County area since then, and they have, it's just been remarkable what they have been able to do. Just the science behind stroke care is amazing. We have also benefited because we have UC personnel in our firehouse for 12 hours a day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And so we learn when they go and help stroke patients. They come back, and a lot of times we share what happened, and so they have increased our level of stroke care. A lot of times we do it together. Any strokes within Hamilton or any strokes within Springfield Township, our EMS crew goes first, and then the MSU responds just minutes or seconds behind us, and then we do the care together.
And like you said, time.
It's
time, especially for a stroke.
Yes.
It's that seconds when you recover from a stroke will affect how you recover from that stroke.
Well, they talk about a 3-hour window, but it's more like a 30-minute window. The quicker you can get TPA on board or to have some type of diagnostic assessment done. The MSU, the biggest advantage of the MSU is that it has an onboard CT scanner. And so we can take that patient literally from your living room, take you out to the MSU, put them on the cot. There is a CAT scan that comes out of the front part of their ambulance, encapsulates the head. They'll do a scan, and they'll be able to determine right there whether or not there's a blockage or a bleed. That information is then transported via telemedicine to physicians that are looking at the scan, and then can advise the crew on board what needs to be done. They carry all different types of pharmaceuticals. TPA is the most well-known, but there's also other drugs that they carry. If it's a bleed, they can do things to control the blood pressure. And then the other thing that's very important is that they want to get them to the appropriate facility so that they can have surgery if required or continued care post-TPA admission.
I just think of the difference between getting all that happening on the spot
Yes.
as opposed to, well, we can wait till we get you to a hospital.
Yes.
And then we can start doing all of
Yes.
that analysis. And that's just
It is.
huge. And I love that that's based. We have that based right
yeah.
in the Springfield Township Firehouse, in that new firehouse that you were talking about.
Well, and we had Forest Park has taken full advantage of it, Coleraine Township, Green Township. I mean, all the area departments have taken full advantage of it. And we've had people come into our firehouse within days of being treated by the MSU, come into our firehouse and just want to thank us for, for the care that they received. And that was just unheard of years ago. Typically, if you had a stroke, it was months before even you were able to even get out of the hospital.
I know you've talked about that, similar situations before, just when we've been chatting, that I know you don't do this job to have people come back and say nice things to you, but you've had that experience over the last so many years of people that come back and get to say, for various types of rescues. Are there any that really stand out for you?
Oh, there's always a few. The ones that we just recently had one where we rescued a child from a fire, and we didn't think he was going to make it. We took some risks that we probably shouldn't have, but when there's a child that's entrapped in a fire, you do what you need to do to try and save that individual. And two of my firefighters, they took that risk. They went into a burning room and without a hose line and took some personal risk. But they were able to find the child, remove the child. The child was not breathing at the time. And they administered mouth-to-mouth, which, again, you typically don't do. But again, with a child, you take some personal risk. They gave mouth-to-mouth. They were able to resuscitate the child, and we put him in the ambulance. And within 15 minutes, we had him at Children's Hospital. Shortly thereafter, they flew him to Columbus for the burn unit, and 3 months later, he was home. And he visited our firehouse about a month ago. And oh my God, just to be able to wrap your arms around that little boy. And, we knew that the burns were fairly severe, but there's something about a 3-year-old child. They're so resilient. And they're just, and I wasn't quite sure when they got to the firehouse if he was going to have to come in on a walker or something like that. He ran into the firehouse. And his mom said that's all he talks about is fire trucks. So we had some fire trucks waiting for him, some toy fire trucks. And when he came in, the first thing, fire truck. And we had put him up in the fire truck. And oh my God, the tears, the firefighters that actually were involved in the rescue, they couldn't get enough of him. The hugs and it felt so good. Our hearts were just so full that day of because, it doesn't happen very often. Typically if we get somebody entrapped in a fire or even in a severe auto accident or something like that, a lot of times the outcome isn't good. But when we're successful and they're able to come into the firehouse, that's what it's all about. That's what keeps you motivated. This job is really about personal satisfaction, and you work as a team, but sometimes you're up close and personal with your patient. Either you're crawling inside of a car that's been rolled over or is damaged by an accident, and you crawl inside that car, so you have that one-on-one contact with a patient. And you know that at the time, you're trying to fight that golden hour, and if you can get them out, take care of them, get them into the helicopter, get them to the hospital, the trauma centers, and then they're able to survive and live a quality of life, and they walk back in the firehouse, oh my God, there's nothing better. There's just nothing better.
How important is it for your department to get to see those moments? Even the ones that weren't part of that particular rescue, that they all get to kind of share that?
Sure. Well, the ones that were up close and personal with that, obviously they are impacted the most, but you just feel it. You just feel it go through the firehouse. And even the staff at the Springfield Township Administration Building, from our HR director and our finance director and administration and even the receptionist at the front lobby. I mean, they were out there just enjoying the moment and could feel it. I mean, the fire department is supported by administration. Obviously, the leadership of the trustees, the administration, and it trickles down. I mean, everybody, our finance director and does the budgeting for us, and our finance expediter who pays our bills. I mean, we're all part of the team. It's not necessarily having your hands on that hose or having direct patient care. It's the team effort that allows us to do what we do. And you really see it when you have those type of moments, when you can share in the excitement of somebody coming into the firehouse that we saved. I mean, we always say, you can't, you try to play God, but you can't. And sometimes God reaches down and puts his arms around the patient. And at times you're not, you're trying to be optimistic, but you realize that there's going to be a rough road ahead of them. And then when they walk in the firehouse, you're just so grateful, and miracles happen. I can truly tell people that I have seen miracles over the years. We just had a resident of Springfield Township recently that had a cardiac arrest. And he was, I'm going to say, kind of walking towards the light. Him and God were having that conversation, and we intervened, and everything just fell into place. We were able to get to the scene. We were able to do a quick resuscitation and get him to Good Sam, and they were able to get a cardiac cath and take care of the cardiac emergency that he was having. And he got out of the hospital a couple weeks later and came to our firehouse just recently as well. And it's just, and that's why I tell these young people that are thinking about going into the fire service, that there's no better calling. There's no better job. Not to take away from bank tellers, but working at a bank, you're not going to get this type of excitement and personal satisfaction. There's no greater reward than saving somebody. And the ones that we lose, there's also some satisfaction involved in giving them their dignity in their last moments. And that's what we try and do, because we're privileged to have that, to be there maybe in their last minutes. And it's important for us to be there and honor this individual and show our respect and give them their dignity, because maybe their family's not able to be with them, and that we're the last person that maybe had contact with them. So we take that very personal too, and that we're sad and we leave with a heavy heart that maybe things didn't work out right. But we grieve in our own way. We try and be successful with every attempt, but we realize that sometimes, that it just doesn't work out. But then that's when collectively we all support each other, and we move on, because within minutes there's another call.
That's true. There's always the next one. The next story is always about to happen whenever that next call comes in. As you look back, we've talked about some of the most amazing things that you've seen happen. What are some of the challenges that you had to deal with over that time? Some of the bigger things that you had to get behind you as a department or as a chief?
Well, a couple of the challenges that I think impacted the fire service over the last 25 years has really been when 9/11 happened. We just didn't know what the impact was going to be. We didn't know how far-reaching it was. We didn't know if we were going to be at war. As being firefighters and safety professionals, we wanted to go to New York. I mean, we wanted to help. We wanted to leave, get on a truck, and drive to New York. But we realized that we needed to be here. This is our job, is to protect the people here in Springfield Township in Hamilton County. So that was difficult for us, is to kind of watch what was going on and stay at home. And then deal with all the aftermath that came with that. We now have locks on the doors in the firehouse because we were afraid that terrorists were going to come into the firehouse and steal our ambulances. And I remember a lady called me shortly after 9/11, and St. X was playing, I think, Moeller at the time, and St. X scored a touchdown, and they shoot the cannon. And she called me and she said, "How could you allow that to happen?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She says, "I took my husband and we went downstairs because we thought we were under attack." And so it was those kind of things that you just kind of take for granted today when you hear the cannon go off to show that they scored a touchdown. You don't think much about it. When you see the planes fly over, you see, okay, well, somebody's going to Florida. Good for them. But at the time, every plane became suspicious, and every noise that sounded like a bomb or something like that, or just everybody lived in that suspicious time. And as we know, I mean, even travel today has changed so much with the TSA and heightened level of securities and things like that. And so that was challenging, was because we had never experienced anything like that before, and we didn't know what was ahead of us, so we had to kind of learn as we go. But that was extremely difficult during that time, but we managed. We learned from it. I think we're better off today because of the things that we did learn. The other thing that was challenging was obviously the COVID that we just went through. And now we're dealing with supply chain issues. They're telling us now it takes 2.5 years to build an ambulance. So how do you replace your equipment? It used to be we could get an ambulance in 6 months. You get a fire truck in a year. Now they're saying 3 years to build a fire truck. So those are new challenges that administration is going to face as they move forward, is the supply chain issue on supplies, on getting equipment built. That's a big part of it. And I think the other challenges along the way has been sustainability. Because back in 2008 and a few times along the way, our finances got really, really tight. At one point, we were afraid we were going to have to lay some firefighters off. It got so bad. And but through some excellent leadership and good management, we were able to make it work. We didn't lay anybody off. You just learn to do what you have to do. Some of those decisions were difficult because we didn't get raises that year or something like that, but you do what you have to do for the sustainability of your operation. And that was difficult over the time, was not having the financial resources that we needed to run the department. I have also been very fortunate and blessed during my career, even with Northern Hills, that every fire levy that we have put in front of the voters has passed. We have never failed a fire levy. And, I take that as a vote of confidence. And we were able to sustain our operation because of the financial support of the taxpayers. And we are so grateful for that. But I tell the people that come in and they visit the firehouse that this is your firehouse. I'm just here managing it, but these are your resources. Your tax dollars have allowed us to buy this ambulance, buy this fire truck, have this firehouse, and have the highly skilled professionals that are in this firehouse providing services every day. You pay for it. You own this firehouse. If you want to bring your kids up and you want to see the firehouse and let them get up in the driver's seat like I did as a kid, by all means, please come by and visit. We highly encourage that. We love having, I call them little people. We love having little people in the firehouse. It takes us back to when we were kids, and feeling the magic of the firehouse.
That is really important, I think, for the residents to hear that. Sometimes that feels like a very separate part of it's in our township. We drive by on Winton Road all the time.
Sure.
We know where you are.
Yeah.
But we don't always feel like it's something that we have access to. So I think that's really important.
Well, they do, and the senior population has been very gracious. They come by and visit us quite often, and we offer free blood pressure checks and that kind of stuff, and they take full advantage of that. But we have our schools, our seniors. We provide so many different services that we're ambassadors of the township when we're out there providing medical care and fire response, and when we have an opportunity to talk to our residents and encourage them to come by and visit the firehouse, or take advantage of all the various services that we have to offer in the township. That's another big part of our job, is that we're also ambassadors of the township.
What do you think would most surprise residents to know about their fire department? Or, you get to bump into them and find out what their expectations are. Oh, you're a fire department, you must do this. What do you think they generally don't know?
Well, I think outside looking in through those glass windows, of the garage, obviously they see the equipment, but I think they don't have a clue how much it costs. A fire truck today is about between $600,000 to $800,000. The big ladder truck that's in there with the ladder on top and all that, to replace that's about $1.3 million. So I think when I talk to residents about the cost of the equipment, they're like, it's hard to comprehend. They understand what their house cost, and now you're talking about a fire truck that's 3 or 4 times more than their house. It's just hard to comprehend. It's unbelievable. The same way with the cost of our pharmaceuticals and everything else that we use to provide EMS care. That has gone up significantly, and just the difficulty in getting access to some of our supplies has been a challenge. The cost of an ambulance today is about $250,000 just for an ambulance, which is a glorified pickup truck with a box on it. But because it's a specialized vehicle, the cost is extremely high. The other thing is, I think, just the amount of services that we provide. We do swift water rescue, we do ice rescue, we have a boat. The urban search and rescue team has one of their vehicles stored at Station 79. They operate out of our station there, along with the MSU. We are really big in collaboration and partnering with our county agencies. And the Hamilton County Urban Search and Rescue Team, their big tractor trailer is at 79s, and it specializes in doing structural collapse rescue, trench rescue, just lost person rescue. A lot of times when there's somebody that's missing, they'll go out, and that's what they're designed, or that's actually what their mission is that they're trained as professional search and rescue people.
Okay.
So, and that's just one. Those are just a few. We also have representatives on the Hamilton County Hazmat Unit, the Hamilton County Command Unit, which is a mobile command center. We have total access to that whenever we need it. So there's just a lot of agency involvement that we have people that continue to be involved with that. And so we can bring a lot of resources, even though we don't have it parked in the firehouse. Just from the click of a radio, I can land a helicopter. We have air care and helicopter resources readily available. We have a drone team now at Springfield Township. So we have a well-organized drone team that's also part of the Hamilton County drone team. And those drones are available for people that are lost and are needed in search and rescue. We also assist the police. And right now, we've just scratched the surface as to, what we can use drones for. I know you're using drones here, in Waycross. So I think that is going to continue to grow, and that's exciting, using technology to advance the level of service that we can provide. So it's exciting, it really is. That's the part that I think I'm going to miss the most as I leave. And there are two things, really. I'm going to miss being part of that world of innovation and having a vision and seeing kind of how the drones are going to impact the fire service over the next 5 to 10 years. What's the new technology, especially in advanced medical technologies, advanced cardiac care and paramedic care, telemedicine, and the things that we can do in the field is just going to just explode with technology. And so that's really, really exciting. And to have been part of that, part of me wants to continue to be part of that. I mean, I thrive in that environment. I love that. So I'm going to miss that part, is being part of the advancement of technology. And then let's face it, really, what I'm going to miss the most are the people. It's my family, just the relationships that I've had with you all here at Waycross, all the county agencies that I've been involved with over the years, from the EMA to, obviously our neighboring departments, the Hamilton County Fire Chiefs that I've been involved with over the years. And just, I've been blessed to have great leadership around me, great staff around me, all the employees of Springfield Township. It doesn't matter if they're in the police department, public works, whatever. They're just awesome people and have a true passion and caring for the people of Springfield Township. They just love public service, and you feed off of that energy and that passion and commitment to providing a high level of service. And I'm going to kind of miss being part of that, because that is truly special, and it's been a privilege to be part of that team.
You anticipated what my next question was, what to miss, and I can't imagine anyone that's part of your daily interactions not also going to be missing having you as part of that. I'm not going to miss you in the studio because I'm going to bring you back to it. So
I would welcome the opportunity to come back and offer my support.
You don't get away from us that easily. Why don't I ask you this, though? What are you looking forward to now?
And that's a good way to put it. Because I am going to start a new journey. I'm looking forward to spending more quality time with my wife. She's been retired now for 2 years, my wife, Laura. And so, we would like to travel a little bit. We want to spend more quality time with our grandkids. I have 3 grandkids that there's nothing better. For those of you that are going to have grandkids or someday have grandkids, believe me, there's nothing better. You love them, spoil them, and give them back. So it's awesome. And, I'm looking forward to really just finding how I can continue to make a difference in this world. I want to be somewhat selfish with my time, and so the things that I do want to be involved with, whether it's philanthropy or whether it's volunteering. My wife is a retired nurse, and with my background, we had even thought about maybe getting involved with the Red Cross and getting involved in their emergency response team and volunteering and traveling the United States, maybe chasing disasters and helping the Red Cross in some capacity. So I think there's a lot of opportunities out there, some of which I just don't know yet. Sure. I am looking forward to sleeping in a little bit.
Amen.
And I think and most retirees will tell you this, I think they just enjoy being spontaneous and not being on a schedule. But they realize that time is precious, and so they tend to make the most of it. And so that's kind of the next step in my journey, is to Just continue to live a quality of life. I've been blessed to have a wonderful family and to spend quality time with them, and looking forward to it.
I want to thank you so much for coming in here and just being very transparent and letting us know what sort of things that you have had happen and are planning to do next. Is there anything last that you would like to leave the residents with? Any last thoughts on?
Well, it feels good to come home here. This is, part of my home, and to come back and see the staff here. But really, over the past week, and really all the way through my career, I have had tremendous support from residents, friends, teachers, coaches, my peers, my subordinates. I mean, I've been truly blessed. I've learned from everybody, and I'm just so grateful for the people who have helped coach me along the way. I am who I am today because of influence. And that influence, whether you call it mentoring, or maybe it's just a smile on any given day when you're feeling kind of down and you run into somebody and they smile at you and you're like, hey, thanks, man, I feel better, And so it can be a lot or a little, but everybody has influenced me throughout my career. Some have invested more than others. I've had the pleasure of working with just awesome trustees. I think I've only worked for 5 trustees in my career, and that's unheard of. That's just, and 2 administrators. And you look at some of the municipalities around here, and it seems like, every couple of years there's turnover. To have that continuity has been such a blessing. To have the trust of my staff and the trust of the leadership and the management team around me has just been awesome. And to give me a safe place to work. And I don't mean it from an injury standpoint. I think they've allowed me to try some things, to be innovative, to take some risk, and not worry about the failure. You learn from failure, and it makes you a little stronger along the way. And they've allowed me to take some of those risks. And we've had some success with some of those risks, but we've also had some failure with it, but we learned from it and we've moved on to other things. So to have that safe environment to work under, and then to leave with friendship. My employees are not just my subordinates, they're my family and my friends. We've gone through a lot together. I've seen a lot of their kids grow up. When they were born, and actually a couple of them worked for me. So I've got some legacy hires where I hired dad, and then 18 years later, their son's in my office going, yeah, I'd like to be a fireman, chief. And I'm like, well, what a great thing, So that legacy hire has been fun to enjoy as well. The other thing I've been blessed and so grateful for is the friendships that I've made along the way too. Not only is my staff my employees, but they're also my friends, and I will cherish their friendship forever. I've just been so blessed, and at times I just don't feel worthy, really, of those blessings. The accolades that I have received over this past week, I'm very humbled by it, but I could not have accomplished any of this without being surrounded by great people. And, so they get the credit. The fire department gets the credit. My job was to hire them, to give them the resources that they needed to do their job, give them the training to do it, and then trust them and let them do their job. And they, and that's the other gratifying thing that I've experienced, was just seeing them reach their potential and exceed that expectation. It's very gratifying, and to see them work at a team and accomplish what they've done, I just can't be any prouder. They're just an amazing group of men and women, and I've been very grateful to be able to assemble that team, give them the resources that they need to do their job, and then trust that they will do it in a high level. And I'm just in awe of them every day when I walk in that firehouse.
Well, I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say that I'm pretty sure they are pretty happy to hear that, and proud to have been picked by you and mentored by you, and that encouragement that you give them, I'm sure, has a lot to do with that success also.
Well, the other chiefs that I've talked to that have retired, they say, your legacy is what you leave behind, and the departments you left behind. And so I'm very proud of that. I know that they will continue to provide exemplary service to the residents of Springfield Township and to their neighboring jurisdictions. And that, I'm very proud to have been part of that. I've been blessed to have a great family that have supported me along the way. My wife, Laura, I mentioned earlier, and my daughter, Emily, and my son, Eric, that actually grew up in the firehouse and, have seen what Dad was involved with, and my daughter went into nursing, and my son's a police officer. So I guess that's also a proud legacy, is that they saw it from their mom and from their dad, that helping people is a calling, and that they're following in our footsteps and helping people as well. And I can't be more proud.
Well, thank you again for coming in. I think there's, we could tell more stories. I think we should probably plan more time to tell more stories.
Right.
But today I'm just going to say congratulations.
Thank you, Dana.
On your retirement, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of adventures come next. And I hope you the most possible enjoyment in all of your new family time and new projects.
Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate your support. And again, if there's anything I can do to help you or the Waycross community, I'm not going too far.
All right, we're going to keep tabs on you.
Well, as I told the board the other night, I was born and raised in Springfield Township. I worked in Springfield Township, and I already have my burial plots in Arlington, so I'll be buried in Springfield Township. So I think that's a commitment. I'm not going very far.
I think that is the commitment. I don't think there is a bigger commitment to that.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be around, and I'll continue to support the township and the services that we use, and Waycross. And thank you for your kindness today. I've enjoyed it.
And I want to thank you also for joining us in this conversation. We will see you next time.